Welcome back to another episode of the Outdoor Adventures podcast here on Brownfield. I'm Brent, Barnett. Today's show is brought to you by Beck's Hybrids. At Beck's, we are and will remain farmers at heart. Today on the show, we're joined by my buddy Kent Boucher, a fellow hunter here from my area in Iowa. Kent, how's it going, man?
Hey, Brent, great to be back with you. I'm doing good. It's fall time, it's the time of year that we live for. And a lot of people say how much they love summer. And I like to joke that what they're really saying is they love air conditioning. And when it comes to weather, this is the best time of the year. And, when you're a deer hunter, it just gets even better. So I'm doing great.
Good to hear. Great to catch up with you. I know that you and I got together here about a month ago at your place shooting some bows, and we recorded an episode on your First Gen Hunter podcast. How's things been going with your show, man?
Hey, they've been going great. I've finally taken a page out of the Brent Barnett book, and I'm starting to put stuff into video format. My friend Caleb Drake. I should introduce you guys sometime. He's a local guy, just a great bow hunter, and he runs a Tuesday show for me called the Backwoods Bulletin podcast, and it focuses a lot on news in the outdoor space and interviews. It's like a 35 minute show, and so that's been added to the lineup. And he started using this recording software that does a great job of utilizing video. And I got, as you've been in my house, I got 4 little kids, and I'm a farmer, full-time farmer. And so my schedule can get pretty hectic, and I don't really have time to be doing a lot of video editing, but this new software does a lot of that for me. And so, I'll be joining you here in video format soon. But yeah, the show's going great. Got an interview with my good friend Doug Duran. You might know him from Meat Eater crew that he's such a close friend with, and he's done a lot of work with us at Hoxie Native Seeds. And I interviewed him on First Gen, and so his episodes will be dropping this Friday. I'm not sure when this episode that we're doing right now will drop. I think yours usually come out on Saturday. So just go back one day. It'll be the most recent episode on First Gen Hunter, and you get to hear a great conversation with Doug Duran. And we're titling the episode the Whitetail Industrial Complex. And it's an exploration into, both the pros and cons, right? You and I have both made money on the whitetail industrial complex in some ways. The commodification of deer is really what we're talking about there, and just trying to keep whitetail deer hunting, keep the focus on what it should be, right? Enjoying the animal, not getting caught up in all the social media glamour and pressures to, turn it into something that it's not supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun. Hunting's supposed to be fun. We should celebrate the majesty of the mighty white-tailed deer, and we should, of course, care about the conservation issues that surround having a healthy deer population and a good ecosystem for the deer to live in. So that was a great conversation. That's coming up this week. So, but I'm excited, man. It's got me on here to talk about opening day, and it's one of my favorite days of the year. So it's even better than the First Gen Hunter podcast.
Oh, please. I'm just always impressed with the guests that you get on your show and your topics. I just, anyone watching here today, just check out the First Gen Hunter podcast. Kent does a lot of great work over there. Kent, you said,
Appreciate
opening day coming up here pretty quick, October 1st in Iowa. I don't know what's tougher or more tough. When season ends in January and then waiting for the year for opening day, or when you get to September 1st and you see all these other states out there with people hunting and posting updates, and then we have to wait until October 1st, a whole extra month to get there. But anyways, it's an exciting time. What's your thoughts going into the season here?
Yeah, when you said the first day and the last day, I don't know if I've ever put it together like this before, but I think there's like I don't know, like a personal guilt trip we put on ourselves on both those days, right? We think, man, it's finally here. I have to go out. Or no, I don't want to go out yet. I don't want to blow up my good spots. It's going to be 80 degrees and it's not likely that it's going to be very good. I really do want to go out, but I shouldn't go out. And then when it gets to the last day of the year, it's like, oh man, I'm so tired. It's so cold out there. I've hunted so many days. There's probably, I mean, why is today going to be any different than these last several days? I know I still have a tag in my pocket, but I don't really, or like, oh, the family's got all this stuff going on today, but it's the last day of the season. I got to find a way to get out there today. If I don't get out there today, I got to wait until, you know what I mean? It's like there's two different directions for that first and last day of the season that we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And I think the best way to do it is if you want to go, go. And if you don't, no, that's okay. That's the point of it's the point of deer hunting again, like I was talking about just a second ago, is it boils down to it's a lot of fun. And so if you're not having fun with it, sure, there's some days where I always kind of do like a little eye roll to myself when someone, is like, oh, I'm back at the grind, I'm gonna, I'm out here just grinding, trying to kill. Like, dude, you're having fun, man. It's hunting is hard in a lot of ways, but like it's also fun. And so if you start to lose track of the fun of it, then don't put that pressure on yourself. So that's kind of how I go into the opening day. I try to go every year on opening day. I kind of treat it more like a tradition, which is fun. Like, yeah, I'm going to try and get out there. As far as what to expect, though, I got an interesting perspective for you this year, Brent, because this is my son's first youth season that he's been hunting. We have put in the time, getting a stand ready. It's a nice ladder buddy stand. So, and we actually practiced that last year. It's the same stand. We of course had to tweak it a little bit this year and make sure it was good to go for another season. And I got him his own little, hunter safety system. That's a good tip to all you parents out there that want to bring your kid in the tree stand. Hunter Safety Systems makes a youth tree harness. And I think the lowest weight it's good for is 50 pounds. So, the kind of, that 5 to 7 year old age is when a kid is probably around that weight. So, he's using his own tree harness. We did all the practice. We, start with the Red Ryder BB gun. Then we go to the pellet gun that I had when I was a kid. It's got a little cheap scope on it. And then we went to the 17 HMR. And then, of course, the popular round here for youth hunts is that 35 caliber 350 Legend. And so we've been practicing with that, and he's good to go from a shooting standpoint. And we've been out hunting, and it's very something I'd encourage people with this time of year, because I am primarily an October hunter. I love hunting the early season because I feel deer are so much more predictable during that time of year. They're on a bed to food pattern. And also, as you know, Brent, the part of the state where we're at, there's definitely, we'll just say that we won't give away too much information, but in the county you live in, there's definitely a lot of timber. I'm in the neighboring county to you, and there's not a lot of timber. There's a lot of timber draws, but it's very much so an area that would have been rolling prairie, with some creek bottom, some oak savanna mixed in there. But historically, from a land standpoint, this would have been a rolling prairie kind of area. So it's a lot of open terrain. And now, go back 200 years ago, and what we now see as corn and soybeans would have been tall prairie grasses, and that certainly would have offered year-round cover for the deer. But the closest thing we can get to that in a lot of the ground, other than like excuse me, CRP acres is standing cornfields. Those standing cornfields can hold a lot of deer this time of year. And so that's another reason why I like October. A lot of times you hear guys cussing a standing cornfield on their hunting property. And I was once listening to an interview with a well-known bow hunter, and he talked about it was Andre DeQuisto is who it was, and he talked about how, man, if you're the first, if the farm that you hunt is the first farm to lose its corn, to have its corn harvested, then you're out of the game for a while, because those deer have gotten accustomed for a whole summer of bedding and standing corn. And if all your neighbors still have standing corn, well, a lot of your deer are going to be over bedding in the standing corn on the neighboring farms. And the inverse of that then is, if you're the last farm to get harvested, you're going to be in business, because you're going to have all the deer from the neighbors. They're going to be wanting to hang out. Excuse me. They're going to want to be hanging out in that standing corn on your farm. And so I love that about October. Thankfully, the guy who farms the primary farm that I hunt, he usually he's got a lot of other places he's got corn that he gets to first, and it works out well for me. So I love being around standing corn. And most movement this time of year is going to be in that 30 minutes after sunset. And more specifically, it's going to be, as far as what we're able to observe from a tree stand, that's probably not going to be super tight to bedding, because it's early in the season. We don't want to, blow up our best spots this early. Most of the movement we're going to be able to see is going to be in that last 15, 10. And even on Tuesday night, when I was out with my son, it was within like the last 7 minutes of legal shooting light. But you're going to see deer, almost guaranteed. And there's a good chance, if you get your stand close enough to where you believe deer to be bedded, you'll catch them within that legal light window and be able to get a shot. Unfortunately for us, on Monday night, he had a buck in his scope, and he lost into the scope because of the low light conditions. It was like the last 6 or 7 minutes of legal shooting light. And then Tuesday night, we saw that it was just dead, Brent. There was like nothing going on. I'm like, man, I guess tonight they're going to wait till after dark to be moving. Well, then I think I was saying the last 7 minutes, here comes a train of $3, and they were probably out at like 70, 75 yards. I'm like, that's a little long for him. I mean, we were practicing at like 60, and then I'm like, all right, just wait for him to get closer, buddy. Just wait for him to get closer. And they didn't get into range where he could get him in his scope, because there again, the low light conditions is just very hard. And my gear is set to be good in low light conditions, because I like hunting, I like being prepared for that. Like, I know that's going to be my best opportunity. So it's a 50 millimeter bell on that scope. So it's meant to gather, a lot of light, but even still, it's just hard for a young hunter like that to be able to make it happen. So by the time that deer finally got to where it was within a comfortable range for him, legal light has expired. And so it's like, oh, sorry, buddy, you got to pack it up. So, and you, once Brent, those $3 walked right into bow range. I mean, they were standing for about 15 minutes, 20 yards from us, but it's encouraging too, right? There's bucks around. Like you said, opening day is next week. I definitely will try to get out with my bow, and we're getting some intel on where deer are moving right now, and it's very much so playing that last half hour of legal shooting light right after sunset is probably your best move at this point in the season.
Kent, thanks a lot for coming on the show here and sharing your insights. You're always a wealth of information when you come on the show. We always appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Hey, appreciate that, Brent. Always good to be here. Thanks to your listeners for tuning into me again.
Again, Kent Boucher there with the First Gen Hunter podcast. Be sure to check out his show there. And thanks a lot for joining us here on Outdoor Adventures. A reminder that this week's show has been brought to you by Beck's Hybrids. At Beck's, we are and will remain farmers at heart. Hope you have a great weekend. I'm Brent Barnett here on Brownfield.